Okay, I've just set us up for record. So again, this is Janine Johnson, chairperson for the Employee Insurance Trust. Today is December 8th, 2020. This meeting is conducted under Governor Lee's Executive Order number 65, issued on October 28th, 2020. Given the state of emergency that has been issued by the federal, state, and local government COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. The trust determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its members, as well as the citizens of Clarksville, Montgomery County, Tennessee. As a reminder, all votes will be by roll call. Please indicate yes or no by each trust member. Voice votes together is not acceptable, nor is showing of hands. Audio video recorded meeting will be posted on our website by Friday, December 11th. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. And if you could please confirm that you are present, and then we'll be able to verify that we have a quorum. Marcia Demarest?
Present.
Amanda Beck?
Present.
Mark Banasak? Don't think we've got Mark on. Tommy Butler? Where is Tommy?
I'm here. I couldn't get off mute. I'm present.
Okay, there we go, Tommy. You know I go fast. Better be ready.
Yep.
Charlie Hall? I know I saw her.
I'm here.
There
Present.
she is. Okay. Leslie Helmig? Here. Thank you. Donna Mahoney?
Present.
Jeffrey Taylor?
Here.
Thank you, Jeff. Kimberly Yarborough? Do we have Kimberly? Okay. Kelly Jackson?
Here.
John Smith?
Present.
Ed Long?
I'm here.
Thank you. Michael Johnson?
Here.
Kay Rye?
Present.
Mary Thomas?
Here. Present.
Thank you. And we have a new member to welcome, Alyssa Pierce. Alyssa, did I say that correctly?
Yep, you've got it. Thanks.
Okay.
And I'm here.
And Alyssa is our new County Human Resources Director. She's replacing Tim Swa. So we look forward to getting to meet you in person at our next meeting, hopefully.
Likewise.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome. Okay, we do have a quorum, so we will go ahead and move on to the agenda. You'll see we do have several things on the agenda. It's been a few months since we've met, so we'll go ahead and move right along. We have a presentation by Epiphany RX 2021. As you'll remember, they handle all of our pharmacy. I handle our pharmacy plan, and Christine Johnson is going to present. Christine, would you like me to share, or are you able to do that?
I can bring it up if you like.
Okay, sure. Go right ahead.
Hold on just a second.
Can I interject something, Janine?
Sure.
We've got an old business item number 2 where Epiphany's gonna talk about the return on investment for the copay assistance program. That program was expanded. I think, Christine, was the effective date, was that 9/1 or 10/1?
It was 9/1.
9/1. And trust members will probably recall that we were not aware that there was a 30-cent per member per month fee. So Epiphany implemented the program without charge until 1/1. At such time, you all asked that we present return on investment to make sure that we wanted to continue the program. I think you'll be pleased with the results. And again, that's one of the reasons we chose Epiphany, just simply because of their innovation. Janine, if it's okay, maybe Christine can talk about that as she's talking about the Quality IQ program. And then she had one other opportunity to discuss. Is that okay?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Can you see the presentation?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can. Mhm.
Okay, great. So there's, as Chris mentioned, there's a couple items. So today what we wanted to talk about are two things, our formulary changes for 2021. So we are making some changes. I want to walk through how we decide what's on the formulary, and then the changes that are impacting the Clarksville members, and then an update on the Quality IQ program and the savings that we've seen there. So just to kind of revisit what we do for formulary. So we really are very focused on making sure that we build a cost-effective but member-friendly formulary. So what goes into it is our three components. It's basically the clinical strategy. So that's all the work that our clinicians do. We also have health economists on this team, and we review all the new drugs to market and all the therapeutic classes every single year. And through that, we develop strategies. And so some of those strategies are things like our Quality IQ program that we bring to you all, but some of them just might be simply how we cover our ADHD medications or antidepressant medications. So we make changes throughout the year as our clinicians review these. The drug lists are the output of the strategy, and that's what's loaded into our system. And when you go to the pharmacy and you try to get a medication, if the drug is on our drug list, it will process. If it's not, it will reject. And then the formulary is the output or the client-facing, our member-facing portion of this. So you can always go to our website, epiphanyrx.com. We update this on a monthly basis, but it has details at great lengths of what's covered, what tier it's on. So if members ever have any questions, that document reflects all the work that's in our system and all the strategies that our team does. So on an annual basis, we look at it. Are there any opportunities to maybe make some changes to save the plan money, but mitigate the member disruptions? So that's what we do. So we're going to talk through first the specialty changes. So pretty exciting news. Tecfidera, Kuvan, and Truvada are specialty medications that have recently had a generic release. And so we don't have any members at Clarksville on these drugs. But I just want to let you know that we're starting to see specialties release, or generics for specialties released into the market. So we always are looking at this, see if there's any savings opportunity. But we are going to be moving patients over to the generics of these drugs. Again, Clarksville didn't have any members, but I just wanted you to be aware that there are some generics that are coming out. These drugs are significant savings to plans that did have impact. The non-specialty drugs, a little bit more changes, a little bit more impact, but I wanted to touch on each of the items here just so you all are aware. The opioid changes, we've tightened up some of our quantity limitations on the opioids. As you all know, that's something that's always in the news when it comes to pharmacy. We did have 5 patients that are getting medications greater than our new quantity limits. We have communicated to these members that they need to have their doctors submit documentation as to why they're getting more than that. And if it's appropriate, then we will continue to prove it. Otherwise, they will need to reduce their amount down to our limitations. Fluoxetine is a generic antidepressant medication. We found that there's some delayed release capsules that are much higher costing than the tablets. So we identified 26 patients that are on these delayed release capsules. We're not going to cover this, but they can move to the tablets. Exact same drug, just different type. So we've been working with those members to get them transitioned over to the capsules. We have some no value drugs. So these are drugs that they're basically brand medications that have generics available. We have communicated to these members. This actually won't go into place until 4/1. We wanted to make sure we had adequate notification of these members, and we will be communicating to them the alternatives that are available. 333 patients. This is the biggest impact one that we are working through. Venlafaxine, which is the same impact as the fluoxetine. Basically, these are extended release medications that are more expensive. We're just moving them to the lower costing one. We have some changes in the asthma therapies. So albuterol is a drug that became a generic available. We will be moving people to Ventolin, the authorized generic for Ventolin, which is ProAir and Proventil. these are all interchangeable, 117 patients that we're working with on that, but that's going to be a significant savings to the plan to move those patients. Again, we're hand-holding all the people through this process. Generic Lispro, which is the generic Humalog, has recently been released. We're adding this to the formulary, and so nope, it's not a negative impact, it's an addition. And then over-the-counter products, there's some drugs that have recently come over-the-counter, like Voltaren. I've seen some advertisements on TV for that. I don't know if you've all seen that. It's a pain medication. Used to be only available through the prescription. Now it's available over-the-counter. And then, hello?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay,
And-
I think is it maybe Michelle? I think your mic's on.
Tomorrow morning at 10:15?
And then Pataday, which is now also available over the counter. You don't have any members on these medications, but if they were, we would be moving them over to the over-the-counter form. Any questions? Pretty minor formulary changes all in all. Any questions about these changes?
It sounds kind of complex to me, but your customer service, from what we've determined, is so good that I think you smooth all these things out. And everybody, you probably are aware, but formulary is really kind of a sophisticated word for the drug list. So, Christine, thanks for all that information.
Thank you.
Any members have any other questions on that topic? Okay, if not, while we have Christine on, we can go ahead and move down to the item number 2 on old business, the copay assistance program update.
Yes. So Quality IQ is our program that we implemented for Clarksville on September 1st, which is basically we're able to negotiate for a subset of medications, go negotiate on a member-specific basis for patients to get additional copay assistance. And so once the drug has been deemed to be clinically appropriate, we're able to get additional savings from the manufacturer. These are drugs that, based on what our clinical team has done, we've determined that the cost that is being charged for these drugs is just out of line of what we would expect to be charged. So just wanted to update you all. We do have 3 patients that were eligible in the program. 2 on Trikafta and 1 on Orkambi. All 3 of these drugs are cystic fibrosis medications. So this program is really targeting patients that are on drugs that are over $200,000 a year for annual treatment. We have, I put the cost in here. We were saving about 24% before we implemented the Quality IQ program. After implementation of the Quality IQ program, we have saved the plan about 51% of cost for these members. So we've collected a total of $71,000 in copay assistance for just 6 claims for these patients. And we've had negotiations with each of these manufacturers for these members. Through that, we did learn that patient number 2 is actually eligible for Medicaid, and now all her claims are being submitted to Medicaid as opposed to Clarksville. So you all aren't incurring any cost for those now. So when we look at when we're moving to 2021, we actually think through our conversations, we can get additional savings for patient 1 and patient 3. Our clinical team has done some additional analyses, and we think that these 2 drugs are about 80% overpriced. We take that information back to the manufacturers and say, hey, manufacturer, you've overpriced your drug, and we think we can get additional savings. But anyway, what we are projecting for the savings, the additional savings for this program for just these 2 patients, and keep in mind, the advantage of this program is that there is no impact to members. These 2 members are paying nothing out of pocket. And so it's kind of a win-win here, right? So we're getting additional subsidies from the manufacturers, and the members the whole time are paying nothing out of pocket. So we would collect, we're anticipating to collect additional 211 savings for these 2 patients. Our management fee of the 30 cents per member per month plus the 20% shared savings on the additional savings amount would total about $80,000. So the net savings after our additional fees would be $131,000. So that's what Chris was mentioning before about the old business that we need to discuss. So we are recommending that you all, because we did implement this program without the management fee, we would like to present for your consideration an amendment that would add this 30 cents per member per month to our contract.
Does anyone have any questions about that? Is everyone clear on the understanding the savings that we've already experienced from having this copay assistance program in place? So we're looking at, am I right, Christine, when I'm seeing the, with patient one, a savings of 151,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then patient three is savings of 127,000? And,
Yeah.
and the total cost, it would, could you go over that again, what the cost to the trust would be?
Yes, so currently you all are paying us a shared savings fee of 20% on any copay assistance we collect. And so the orange bar is what we were collecting previously before we implemented the Quality IQ. So you
Okay.
all would pay us that 20% of those two orange bars. The difference here is that now you'll pay us the 30 cents plus the 30 cents per member per month plus the shared savings of 20% of the lighter blue bars. And that's how I calculate the ROI. So, and the PMPM fee does cover our work that the team does in developing the list, all the analytics and the that go into our analysis of how much we think we can go pursue from these manufacturers based on the cost that they have overpriced for these medications, plus our individual negotiations with each of the members. And then the last big important part is monitoring of the claims to make sure the members truly are paying nothing out of pocket.
So Christine, that's about 12 to 1,500 per month additional. So 15 or so thousand approximate additional annual cost for net savings. I mean, just if we keep these two patients, I know there obviously could be more at any time of 131,000.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things we did want to talk about is that we have identified more drugs that are eligible for this program beyond these two drugs that we've been pursuing. And one of them is that Fabrazyme patient that we have been working on for quite a bit, right, to save. And that drug is eligible for this program now too.
Janine, if it's appropriate, I would like to make a motion that we do accept or move forward with this program on an ongoing basis. If it's appropriate, I'd like to make that motion that we do move forward with this.
Yes, I would accept that motion. Do you have an effective date, Tommy?
I think that we were going till January 1, so it would be January 1.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I
John
have a
Smith will second that motion.
second. Okay. So we have a first by Tommy, a second by John. And any other questions about how this works from our members? And if you do have a
I
question.
do
if you'll
have a
just-
question.
Okay, thank you. Mhm.
So I guess I don't understand why we would pay an additional fee if Epiphany is already collecting a fee based off of the savings.
So the additional fee is the work that we do to develop this program, and also the negotiations with the manufacturer are quite extensive to be able to get this additional savings. And so that's that fee covers that additional cost plus the ongoing oversight of the claims.
So the cut that you take of the savings doesn't cover your costs for providing the program?
It does.
Yeah, let me mention something. Of course, this is, prior to you becoming a member of the trust, but when we put the plan in, Epiphany had a per member per month fee for these types of programs. And so what we did is we went with a percentage of savings because we weren't sure what kind of savings we generate. So we knew that if we went with a percentage of savings, of course, the trust would end up having significant ROI. They wouldn't pay for anything they didn't get. Since that time, Epiphany is constantly seeking new ventures to save money. And so this is a program that we're not even aware of that's in the marketplace. They're really kind of pioneers, and they're constantly doing new things. And so I don't know if that helps explain why we're charging a per member per month fee on top of a percentage of savings, but that's how that original percentage of savings started. And this would just be an additional fee for their cost for additional work without varying that percentage of savings. I guess, Christine, you could change the percentage of savings if you wanted to and capture those monies, but you've chosen to do it on a per member per month calculated fee.
Right, and some of the drugs in this program too, we get 100% coverage. So for example, that Trikafta member that is now Medicaid eligible, we worked to make sure that we could get them enrolled in Medicaid. Well, we're not going to see the claims anymore, and there's no shared savings then on that because there is no claim to calculate it against. So the fee also covers some of those claims that we won't ever see because of the work that we're doing on this program. The other thing is our only revenue that we make as an organization are these management fees and the shared savings fees from our clients. We don't have any other source of revenue. And so in order to continue to develop these programs, we do need that additional fee.
Okay, thank you.
So am I correct, Christine? Basically, the copay assistance program is in addition to what you have all already been providing us for the last, are we going on our third, we're about ready to start our third year, am I
Third year.
correct?
That's
Yeah.
right, yeah. Yeah, so it's a different level of copay assistance. Yeah, it's a member specific negotiation rate where we're going to make sure that we can get any funds from the manufacturers available for these specific drugs.
And do all pharmacy rebates come back to the plan under the Epiphany plan? And again, I'm brand new, so I know I'm asking questions people may already know.
Yeah, 100% of that comes back, and we do reconcile it and audit. And Clarksville actually had the opportunity last February, where you all came in and we took a look at the reporting on that to verify that it all came back.
Okay, great.
I want to say something if it's okay.
Sure, Charlotte.
I've been able to witness firsthand about the copay assistance because all of the work that we do with the infusion, it's quite aggressive back and forth with us and also with Christine's group about these copay assistance, but it's constant to try to figure out who is saving what so that way we can get their medication here. And I would never have known that until we started the infusion. So I didn't realize how hands-on that copay assistance requires of their staff because there's several of us that work together that way. That might help explain it a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the insights.
Any other questions from members?
So is there a commitment period on this? So like if we did it for like the next year or two and then determined that we really weren't seeing this, continued savings from it, that we could, opt back out of it, or?
Yes, of course, that's the way we always work. So a couple of things: if you no longer have people eligible for this program, the fee ceases to be charged. So let's say these members no longer they age out of the plan, let's say, then the fee would no longer charge. And then we do a reconciliation of the fees to make sure you at least had a 2-to-1 ROI.
Any other questions? If not, we will go ahead and I'll go ahead and do a vote, and I'll actually call out their names again for a yes or no. Marcia?
Yes.
Mark is not here. Amanda?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Has Kimberly come on? I don't think so. Okay. Kelly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Kay?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay. So we have an unanimous vote. on that. And before we let Christine move on, we did want to have her, and I think Chris, they'll probably kind of tag team this one. I know many of the members that have been with us for several years have heard us talk about, there's one member who has a prescription that I believe has cost the plan close to $1 million, or maybe a little more than $1 million per year, and it's called Fabrazine. And so I'm going to go ahead, and we've, again, Epiphany has been working with that person specifically and trying to see if we can find some savings, and I believe that they have. So we just want to get some more information on that from Christine, and I think Chris also.
Yes, thank you. So just to give you some perspective, is that we have been working with this patient for quite a while. I think Tommy told us on the first day, this is the patient we need to help manage this cost. So we recently in May moved this patient from Vanderbilt. She gets weekly infusions of this drug Fabrazine. By taking over, this is actually one situation where COVID has helped us. She was traveling down to Vanderbilt to get her care, but because of COVID, we were able to encourage her to seek care more locally. So she's been going to Dixie Vital Care. By moving her from Dixie Vital Care in May, since through the end of November, we have saved the plan just about $320,000 with this member on her infusions. So, and that's not annualized, that's the actual savings prior to what you all were paying before for weekly infusions. We have identified and added this drug to our Quality IQ program. So it would be an additional person we could pursue. Based on the analytics and the assessment that our clinical team has performed, we think we can get the manufacturer to cover an additional 50% of the cost. In order to do that, though, we need to make sure that the coverage is only allowed under pharmacy, because what would happen is she could switch over to medical, and that might open the door up to not get that savings. So our recommendation would be to allow Fabrazine, all Fabrazine, to be covered only under the pharmacy benefit, so we can take advantage of this Quality IQ program.
Chris, do you have anything, or Kim, that you'd like to add? I know you've worked very closely with this one.
Well, it's an unusual case because everything's been rocking along just fine. And all of a sudden, when Epiphany reached back out, made contact about some additional savings, the member got upset. Epiphany's not asking the member to change doctors, not asking the member to change any medication. So we're really kind of perplexed about what happened here. So it would be our recommendation to the trust that you do cover this medication under the pharmacy side of the plan and block it from the medical side of the plan. And if you all do make that that change, then of course we would ask Blue Cross to administer the plan accordingly. Christine, you got anything to add to that? I mean, I know that you've talked to your customer relations folks that have had conversations. It's just, it's perplexing. All of a sudden there was a change. And I guess I'll say one other thing and then turn it back over to Christine. Blue Cross has got a program on specialty medications. And when their policyholders implemented this program, they had a lot of pushback from the providers because it's a big revenue stream. In other words, the providers buy these medications from the specialty pharmacies and they mark them up and they sell them to the member. And I guess it's a big profit margin. Christine can talk to that better than I can. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of speculate if maybe that's what's happened here. All of a sudden, potentially, and this is speculation, you all have absolutely no inside knowledge here. Maybe that's what's going on. And so there's been a bug put in here that the members not, members' health care is not being looked after.
Yeah, we think that's what happened. So when we moved this patient to Dixie Vital Care, the savings was strictly just by getting a cheaper site of care. We haven't been pursuing any copay assistance from the manufacturer because there wasn't any available. There's the only copay assistance that is available for this is if we were to implement a program like Quality IQ. So this is a patient, I think Alyssa, you addressed that. We haven't been collecting any shared savings for the work that we've been doing on this patient because we haven't had any. So this is where our fees come in, right? Where it's the work that we do on that. But yeah, it's interesting. We have made no revenue on this patient to date for the specific work that we've done. So I think that it goes to show the money that was being made before and after is interesting to me. So I think we've taken about $320,000 out of the pocket of somebody that was receiving it before.
And am I accurate that it was $1 million or more than $1 million a year that we've been spending on this one member? Is that
Right?
Tommy? I know you've watched those.
More than $1 million.
More than $1 million a year and it's a week. Is it a monthly or weekly transfusion?
Weekly. So previously you were paying over $35,000 a week for her infusions.
Yeah, at Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
So what help me understand, we would need to basically have a we would basically need to list this as a medication, a service that would need to be covered under our pharmacy plan, correct?
So in the SPD, we worked with Kim, and it does state that sometimes in order to have the lowest cost site of care, you might be required to get your prescription through either the medical or the pharmacy benefit, and the plan does allow for that. Because this is a specific situation, we do want, before we enact on that, we want to make sure that the trustees approve with that because it is your plan.
So we would, Chris and Kim, do we need to modify our plan? Do we need to make a motion to modify the plan? I think, Kim, you're on mute. Still on mute. There we go.
Would recommend, I'm sorry, thank you, that you make a motion.
And Kim, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. Can you hear me better by talking?
Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit better.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, we recommend that you make a motion for a change, and then we would amend the SPDs.
Okay. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah, I mean, if it's appropriate, I would like to make a motion that we do amend the plan and require that this drug Fabrazyme, when prescribed or administered, is purchased through the pharmacy plan and excluded from the medical plan.
Okay, so Tommy has put out a motion. Do I have a second?
Amanda Beck, I second.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments regarding this motion?
I do have one question. While we're at it, are there other infusion type medications that we should go ahead and, if we're going to amend the plan, should we talk about all infusion medications going through pharmacy, or is it best to single out this one particular one?
We think it's best at this time just to single this out. And then as the on-site clinic and the medications evolve, expand it. There's some underlying currents that probably be best if we proceed with just this one medication at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Tommy and Christine, is that kind of?
Well, I mean, I will say that there will be more. There are others on the list for sure when you talk about switching to biosimilars. So you're definitely along the right path. There will be others, but we didn't want to get them mixed up with this $1 million drug today.
Right. And we also, we have been having an optional program where they can go to the on-site clinic and get the infusions. We just haven't been mandating it. This is a situation where mandating this drug, and because of the savings, makes a lot more business sense to do so. But I think Charlotte is going to be reporting on some of the results that we've been seeing through the initiative with the on-site clinic, and even making it an optional program has been very successful.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Kelly?
I'd just like to ask, is there any other financial impact on the member?
No. She will continue to pay 0 like she has been.
Very good question. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. If not, we will go ahead and vote. Okay. So this is on a motion to move Fabrazine from the medical plan to the pharmaceutical plan. And does that, will that have an effective date?
We would make this January 1st.
Okay, effective date of January 1st. Thank you, Christine. We'll go ahead and vote. Marcia?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I think is it Ed that has left us? I think it was Ed that has left. Michael?
Yes.
Kay?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anonymous? Not anonymous, unanimous. Sorry about that. Okay, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the review of the August 4th, 2020 minutes. And those should have been sent out. Donna sent those out for everyone to review. So if you want to take a few seconds and review those.
If it's okay, I'm going to drop off. Do you need me for
Yes,
anything else?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Christine. As always, we appreciate all your work for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a great Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'm sorry, I should have, Scott, you're next on the agenda. I went ahead with the minutes. We'll get the minutes approved and then I'll push back to you. Okay, Scott? Sorry about that.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Leslie. All in favor? I'm sorry, I need to do roll call. I'm acting as if I'm in person. Marcia?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. Kelly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ed? And he's out. Michael?
Yes.
Kay?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we will go back to our 403B presentation. This is a plan report. And for those of you with the county government, I apologize. This is not something that you guys are generally real involved in. But once a year, we do like to have our 403B reviewed. And this is something that Mr. Donaldson, Scott Donaldson from Jack Turner and Associates will be presenting. Do you want me to share, Scott, or do you have that?
I can share.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, well, I say I can share. I've got a lot of things and not the one I'm looking for. There it is. So everyone should have received a report through Donna. The cover page looks like this. So what I'd like to do is to be able to go through the investment options that are available under your plan. This report is a system that downloads all of the investment options and compares it to the 8,000 or so mutual funds that are available to let you know whether your funds are at least decent. And obviously, I'm not satisfied with decent. I want all of them to be superior. And so this report is a little, gets into the weeds a little more than I would like, but it does contain some helpful information. I would like to go down to this report, which you could see it's page 9 on this, but you can just see the various funds that are available, the various categories that they're in. Now, this does not include your fixed account because it only looks at funds. That's not something that's available. But as you can see, when you look at these scores, Most of them are green, meaning that it's superior. There's a few that in various quarters came out red where they're still generally better than average, and this one popped from 57% to 87%. So when we look at the third quarter of 2020, you have all mostly 100%, meaning they're in the top 1 percentile of all funds. But that notwithstanding, you've got a fine lineup of funds. Would it be possible to make some changes? Sure. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's disruptive to your people to be making fund changes, especially doing them a lot. It's been a little under a year since we revamped this fund lineup, and I felt it was appropriate at least to go through the funds with you. So not counting the $11 million that are in the fixed account, we do have a breakdown of the funds, the amount of money that's in each of the funds, the percentages. You do have more than 50% of those invested assets in the target date funds, which is as it should be. That's where people aren't really sure how to invest their money. They're letting American funds do that for them. And most of those funds score at 100, meaning they're in the top 1 percentile. So basically what this says is you do have excellent funds. They have been reviewed as the group that's responsible for making sure this is happening. Please understand that I'm doing this on a quarterly basis. So even though you may not see this information regularly, I am reviewing it and I'm making sure that there's nothing to be concerned about. If there were, if I felt like it was critical that you make a change, I would certainly go to Janine and Donna and request that you consider doing that. So again, this report contains a lot of, again, a lot of detailed information for those of you that are really into investments. I think you would find this extremely helpful. For those of you that aren't really interested, that's all but one or two of you, probably. This does give you at least some assurance that these are being reviewed based on lots of different criteria to ensure that the funds that are offered to your employees through the 403B plan continue to provide outstanding performance. And again, the main reason for this, the existence of this, is also that fixed account, which is available, which has a superior rate of return to the 401k plan that you get through the state. So we're very happy with the performance that we've received through this MetLife contract. I think that when you hired me in to make changes, and we made those changes a year ago, I feel like those were well thought through. I believe that they provide that net performance that's really superior to what you had before. Okay. Are there any questions about the funds, the performance, anything in this report?
I'll just add, Scott, for the other members, as a reminder, this is something that our employees have the option to supplement their TCRS retirement. Many of you on this call may probably be a part of the legacy plan. So the legacy plan at that time, we did not have a 401k. The hybrid plan does offer a 401k. So we don't see nearly as many people choosing the 403B to enroll now, because if they're new employees, they're in the legacy and they're electing the state's 401k. But I'm going to put you on the spot, Scott. Do you remember how many employees we have with the 403B? Do you know that number?
Oh, well, you are putting me on the spot.
I am, and that's okay. And I bet you know what. Did I see David on here? I don't know, or if we know what the value is right now of the account.
Yes. Hey, Janine, David is here.
Yeah. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. How many millions of dollars do our employees have with MetLife? That's my question.
Okay. Now, in response to that question, I'm looking at the dashboard now, which is as of the close of business yesterday, and we have 25.8 million.
I knew it was millions. I was right, wasn't I?
And there are 960 participants that have a balance within the plan. That would include both active as well as separated, who have chosen to keep their money with us.
Okay, thank you. Look at that, Scott. David got you out of deep water, didn't he?
Well, I appreciate that, David.
Oh, Scott's my guy. I couldn't leave him out there by himself.
I knew the amount, I just didn't know the, and how much is in each fund. I just didn't know the number of participants. So,
Yeah.
but it's a, there's a lot of people that participate. The reason they stay with this is that it does offer good options, and hopefully we're doing a good job between David and myself of maintaining that that good fund lineup. They've done a great job. There was a question that came up also about the plan document and the ability of folks that who are participating in the plan to be able, under the Secure Act, to take a distribution, which is now available for extended purposes such as the adoption or birth of a child. That was something that didn't exist before, and that is something that you all will need to decide if you want to amend your plan to allow people in that situation to take a distribution specifically for those purposes. I don't like to see people take distributions, but this is something that the IRS does allow, or Congress allows, under the Secure Act, and I think it's probably a worthwhile request. And there was a specific individual that asked whether you all had amended the plan to allow that, and for that reason, I'd like to bring that up as something you may want to consider.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Scott about that? So Scott, basically this would allow someone to take a distribution for the adoption. Is that?
Yeah, in this case, it was an adoption. So if you have the birth of a child, and there's expense associated with adoption or birth of a child, that they'd be able to access the money in their 403B account for that specific reason. Having access to the money in a 401k or 403B plan is pretty tightly restricted by federal law. This year it's opened up because of the coronavirus, and there's things called CARES Act distributions. But generally speaking, it's pretty restricted, and this would open the door to an additional group of expenses having to do with
This is not, because currently we do not process the loans. So this is not a loan. This is, as you said, a distribution, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So we would need to have a motion if we wanted to amend our current document. Does anybody else want to talk about that more from the school system? Because I know the county government side, this is irrelevant to them because they do not have this 403B. Not seeing anyone interested in adding that as a distribution. I'm not seeing a motion. Okay.
I personally think it's a good idea. I mean, I know on the county side, we don't have a lot of skin in the game, but
yeah,
you know, someone on maternity leave who needs that extra money to be able to, you know, continue their leave, it seems like a good idea. I do have a question, Scott. Will this option expire with the CARES Act at some point? Is it only a temporary thing anyway?
Actually, this was a provision in the Secure Act, which was passed about a year ago, prior to the CARES Act. The CARES Act expires at the end of this calendar year, but this is a permanent provision that was designed to kind of to meet a need that they saw wasn't covered under prior law.
I got you. I thought you mentioned the CARES Act.
Yeah, I think your 401k plan was probably amended to do this, although I'm not involved in that plan. It is standard. Most plans we see adopting this, but it's certainly not mandatory to do this. And again, I'm not anxious to see people taking distributions from the plan, but there are certain situations like adoption that can be very expensive, and so they just wanted to open the door to do that if someone would be interested. Maternity leave a lot of times would be covered under the medical expense hardship distribution, so it's possible in that situation this may not be that big of a deal. It's more for the adoption side of things.
Is this open to us to do at any certain period of time. So if we had an employee that came inquiring about this and then wanted to make, to adopt it, I mean, can we do it at any time during the year?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is available today. It's something that you have had one of your participants inquire about it. However, it's not something that this is an open and shut. If you don't do it now, you can never do it. You could amend your plan at any time to adopt this.
Any ramifications to, telling this current employee no, and then changing our mind a few months later and telling a different employee yes?
Yeah, we won't be able to, you'd have to have the document will have to be amended.
You would have to amend it. If you don't amend your plan document, it's not available. It's as long as you don't amend your plan to allow one person to do it and then amend it again to not allow it anymore. I don't think that you have a discrimination problem.
Does this come at additional cost to the members, or is this just
No,
It
yeah.
wouldn't affect anyone but that one individual.
We currently, there are a list of items that people can take a distribution for, as Scott mentioned. We handle those within the benefits office. Medical is probably, would you say, Donna, that that's probably the number one reason? It's medical that comes through college tuition. There's foreclosure on a home. I'm trying to think of the ones that I see the most common. And I would say it's
it's kind of all those. It's a mix. It's the insurance plan's really good, so a lot of times it's not medical related, but certainly foreclosure, the loss of a home and that kind of thing. And we have had people, I think, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but buying your first home is another reason that you can use a hardship distribution.
Yeah, there's a list of hardship reasons that include medical expenses, post-secondary education expenses.
Right.
Prevent eviction or foreclosure, first-time home buyers.
Right.
Funeral
And
expenses, post-family member.
Education expenses is another one we see, a little more often, but usually it's a mix of all those different reasons for hardship.
So they've just simply added to the list, but that list is in your document. So to add these to that list in your document, it has to actually be, your plan has to be amended.
if there's no additional cost to us for this, then I would move that we go ahead and add it if there's not an additional cost to the members.
So I have a motion by Leslie. Do I have a second? I do not have a second. Okay, then the motion does not carry. And if anybody has any questions, we can always bring this up on at another meeting if, further questions on that one. Okay, thank you. All right.
You're welcome. Feel free to reach out to me if you want more information on this. Any of you certainly are welcome to contact.
Thank you, Scott. Well, before you step out, before you and David step out, does anyone else have any questions for Scott or David regarding our 403B plan? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for spending part of your evening with us. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome to stay on and listen to the rest of the agenda if you would like, but we understand.
As much as I would enjoy doing that, I have to run.
All right, we'll let you move on. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, have a good evening.
Thanks. So we have reviewed the minutes. Move on to old business, on-site update. This is Tommy and Charla. They want to.
Just a couple quick things. Our November clinic numbers were 2,270, October were 2,400, September 2,450, and just on the telehealth side, September was 982, October was 906, and November is 655. We telehealth is working out well, but we don't want it to be our primary business, so that's trending down a little bit because we're trying to get people into the clinic. And then Charlotte's going to talk about, I also wanted to mention the mental health provider is fully booked every day. Everybody wants to see her, so that's going well also. And then Charlotte's going to give some updated information on all the wonderful news about infusion at the clinic. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tommy. Charlotte?
Well, I was trying to review our last notes because I think the last time we met, infusion had just started. And so now we're months in, that was August 1 that we started, and it's going very well. We're currently seeing 10 patients. So we have 4 county and 6 school system patients that we're seeing. And then we're in the process of getting 2 more started. I just got a text that we actually got one of those 2 started while we're in this meeting. So that's a lot of work on Epiphany's end to help us coordinate with that doctor. So now we're looking at 11 patients that are started. And our savings is huge because, of course, we're getting them here rather than going somewhere else. So currently, we are looking at about $300,000 that we've saved so far. And of course, there's going to be even more as they shift to the biosimilar. So the biosimilar is what we're working with now, with getting these doctors on board to say, yes, it's okay. They can switch to this medicine once their copay assistance runs out. So we're excited about that. So just really to wrap it all up, infusion has definitely been worth it because it saved a lot of money. And we just are thrilled that people are so happy with receiving the services here. I haven't heard one negative thing, and I have had patients calling saying, I just wanted to call to tell you, either you saved our life, you saved our time, or you saved us, money. So it's going very, very well. I'm happy to look at that.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? And again, that's a huge cost savings to the insurance trust by having those transfusions, infusions handled at on-site. So, okay. So we already, on old business, we already handled the copay assistance program. We'll move on to new business, a financial statement review. Marcia, do you want me to try and pull that up?
Well, I don't know if we need to pull up the actual statements. Everyone's had those mailed to them. So we did mail out, Donna mailed out, I think we had August, September, and October, perhaps maybe July as well. So I'll talk about, the October one, since that's the most recent one that we have. So, of course, on the first page of that, we show the trial balance. And so we show all the assets, the liabilities, and the fund balance. The fund balance right now is sitting at $15,277,252.78, which is like 2.7 million higher than a year ago. And so that is very good news, and good to see that we have that increase in the fund balance relative to a year ago. So as far as like looking at that in relation to average expenses, that gives us like 2.92 months of expenses in reserve. And last year, we were at 2.4 million of average expenses in reserve. So, so while the, looking at that, sometimes when you look at the increase, you need to take that in comparison to, what the, increase is relative to the expenses, so that it's not just like a growth, increase in overall numbers. The second page of that is the statement is our bank reconciliation, and that just strictly shows the cash account reconciled to the trustees report. The third page shows all of the participation numbers broken out by schools, county, retiree, and COBRA. So it's there for information. Then when we talk about the next pages 4, 5, and 6 shows the information kind of on a total basis, and looking at that expenses that we have for the year, year to date in October compared to year to date a year ago, we are actually seeing a decrease of $1,268,299 in expenses. And so obviously a portion of that is attributable to, the savings that we've talked about, generated by the infusion center, savings, generated by Epiphany. I know before we had looked at, some of that was COVID related, with people not getting elective surgeries and other elective procedures done. And then we also see an increase in our revenue year to date of 510,456. And so some of that, we did have an increase this past year. And so, we would certainly expect to see the revenue increase. And then pages 7 and 8 basically show that information as far as revenues and expenses broken down by group. So you're welcome to look at that by group. But Janine, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the sheet I sent you that just have some graphs, just real quick, I'll show that. Let them see that so they can see kind of the trend of where we are.
Okay, are you seeing it?
No, not yet.
Okay. Let's
I asked Janine to do it because I am always terrible at at sharing anything on my screen.
Well, it's not, I'm seeing it, but it's not helping you guys, is it? Okay, oh, wait, here it is. There we go.
Okay.
Fully.
Well, I guess it's not really. I don't know if everybody else can see that larger than I can see that. But if you look at that, it's just graphically showing
Is that bigger?
Yeah, a little bit better. So that gray line that you see right there, that's showing for this year. And so the blue line is actually from 2 years ago, and the orange line was last year. So when you look at that, you can definitely see on our fund balance, the relative change of that. And like I said, 2.92 months of reserve versus 2.4 months the prior year. And if you'll scroll down there to the expenses, again, the gray line is this year. So you will see that those expenses are lower. They're lower than, they've kind of spiked up a little bit in August, but then September and October, you'll see those are actually lower than where we were a year ago. And so it's on a month-to-month basis. And then if you'll roll down to revenue, of course, in the summer, July and August, the school system doesn't take contributions because we spread that out over a 10-month period. So we always see that lower number there in July and August, but then you'll see it coming back up. And so, the revenue is a little bit higher than this year than the prior years, but it's kind of on that same track that we always see where it's down in July and August. And then once the school system starts taking those deductions, you'll see that. And then if you'll scroll over to the right a little bit, I just have a couple graphs that just show that revenue. So that's like on a monthly basis, you can see the ups and downs, and then maybe a little bit further over.
I need to.
And so there you'll see those expenses. If you want to scroll up just a little bit, those are expenses year to date. So that's showing you the months of reserve, 3.07 2 years ago, 2.4 last year, 2.92 this year. Average expenses of about 5.2 million, 5.26 last year was 5.27, looking at it on a 12-month basis. So we definitely have decreases of expenses, and then there are the expenses for those 3 years, and you'll see that's year to date, so from July to October, and you can definitely see then our year-to-date expenses are down and our year-to-date revenue is up a little bit by the amounts I had shown earlier. And that's it.
Thank you, Marcia. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the statements.
John Smith makes a motion to accept the financial information as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Jeff, second. Any questions for Marcia before we vote? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, Marcia?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Kay? Do I have Kay? She may have, there's Kay. Oh, you're muted. Go ahead, Kay. Okay. We couldn't hear you, but I'm assuming that was a yes. Okay. Mary
Yes.
and Alyssa?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, we will now move on to experience, and I'm going to let you know, we've got our school board meeting at 6 o'clock. I'm watching the clock here, so I'm going to try to get us moving. There may be a few items I may have to, hopefully not have to pull off, but we've got some important stuff to talk about here. So we're trying to keep this going as quick as I can. So our next item is experience reports. Did you like that, Chris? That was my polite way of saying make it fast.
I'm gonna do it fast. Do you mind sharing the screen?
Only if that makes it go by quicker.
It's going fast.
Okay, I'm gonna see. We'll see if I can get lucky and get that pulled up. Tell you, I had so much. Okay, are you seeing it? No, there we go. There, how's that?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, you all, this is the medical plan. It's just a snapshot. It's a one-page summary of the plan cost. The report format is consistent with all our previous discussions. Right there at the top of the page, you can see the enrollment. That's for October. Section A is the budgeted cost. And you can see it broken out by the Board of Education, the county, and then combined. You can also see it for the month of October and year to date. Section E is actually all the plan cost. You can see anywhere from the medical claims, administrative expense to reinsurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get down to section G is the loss ratio. And we've all seen over the years, those loss ratios fluctuate monthly. Right now, the year to date, I think if I can see that is about, let's see, is that September, Janine? I think that's September. I think for October, the year to date is right at about 101.4%, which we're very comfortable with. Again, they fluctuate by month. As you all are probably aware, this is the second month of the new policy year. So we're fine with the 101.4% loss ratio. Alyssa, we did want to let you know that Blue Cross does provide very, very detailed information on an annual basis. And of course, if you need any kind of details, we can go to Blue Cross and we can get that throughout the year. So I think as you continue to be involved, you'll see that the information that you need is available. And again, this is just a snapshot. And then if you want to have a discussion anytime, after this meeting or whatever, be happy to discuss with you one-on-one. Does anybody have any questions about the medical plan cost?
Okay, if
No,
not,
yeah, let's go to the dental. And Janine, you don't even have to pull this one up if you don't want to.
okay.
Dental plan loss ratio for the year, and the dental plan is on a calendar year basis, is 84.92%, which of course is very good. It's really kind of a moot point because you're in a rate guarantee. Rates won't change on the dental plan until 1/1/22. So we're good there also. How was that, Janine?
That was excellent. Thank you, Chris. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, and you should have received all of those documents, so thank you. Next item on the agenda is COVID-19 rapid tests. So I'm going to ask Tommy Butler and Charlotte Smith to give us a little information about what we have at the on-site clinic. We have rapid tests, so I'll let them go ahead and we can talk a little bit about this because we do have some decisions we do need to make on this topic.
Yeah, and Charlotte's going to cover it. She's been working hard on it. So
I'll try to talk fast because I know I can be long-winded. But so we did have some frustration because we didn't have access to the COVID-19 test. And so we decided in collaboration with the state of Tennessee, the Department of Education, the Tennessee Department of Health, and the school system to participate in a pilot program. And the pilot program would allow us to have temporary access to free COVID-19 testing materials until that state supply is exhausted. And so for us at Onsite, what we're thinking is it would be a nice way to incorporate better care for our patients, because right now when a patient comes in, we don't know if they have COVID or not. We truly just have to guesstimate, or we send them elsewhere for treatment. So we've sent a lot of people other places, and we know that's funds that we would love to save for the trust. So the Department of Health gave us several tests. We have a rapid test, and then if a person tests negative and we don't have any other kind of alternative diagnosis, then we can use a PCR test, which the state calls the gold standard. And so the two ones that they gave us would cover all age groups. So people under 16 and 16 and above. And so I guess really what I wanted to emphasize is for us, we aren't envisioning becoming like other places in town. We're not envisioning a line around the building and we're some rapid testing facility. That's not really what we were looking for. It wasn't the intent that it was, given to us for. It's not a free for all. So the intent that the state mentioned is that they want to be able to help people to go back to work. And so they also want to help children go back to school. So that's why we weren't envisioning doing any kind of like random testing or just regular testing of asymptomatic employees. We really weren't talking about that at that point. And I guess that sort of leads it to bullet 4, if that's okay if I keep going. Bullet 4 is a couple of things that I was really thinking about that you would need to decide today. So maybe it's okay if I present this as a proposal. So
let me, Charlotte, let me step in real quick.
Sure.
So basically what we've been doing, and again, we received these from the state because we're a school system. So they have been doing some rapids when they received them, just kind of trying to make sure they did the training with the staff. So if you have symptoms, so if you were to call on site and you had symptoms that were COVID related type symptoms, then you would be eligible for the rapid. You take that rapid, and if it says no, then you do the PCR test, which then is sent off to a lab. So if I were to call and I were to say, I'm going to go visit my family next week and I'd like to do a rapid, but I have no symptoms, then the on-site clinic is going to say, no, that's not an option. Okay. So that's kind of the guidelines that we're looking at. We're looking at this for our employees. And of course, we, when we received all of these tests, we did specifically say to the state, can we use these for our county health, our county government, who are a part of our insurance trust and a part of the on-site clinic? And they said yes. But initially, these were geared just for school systems, for school employees and students. So then I think a lot of you know about the new guidelines with CDC that are allowing our employees to come off quarantine earlier. So previously it was a 14-day quarantine. It is now a 10 if you have no symptoms, and can now be down to a 7 if you do the rapid and you have no symptoms. So that would be the only time an asymptomatic employee would do a rapid, is if we were looking at them trying to come off of the original 10-day quarantine down to 7-day quarantine. So if I had no symptoms, I was sent home because I was close contact with someone. I went through my 7 days. I had no symptoms. I called and I have insurance. I'm a member of the insurance trust. Then I should be able to have the rapid because I have no symptoms. Am I right, Charlotte? Did I summarize that okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was all my stuff for the bullet 4.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure folks understood what we're looking at big picture wise, as far as who we've been testing right now on a kind of a piggyback. So I'm sorry if I took your thunder. I just wanted to make sure people understood where we were at right now.
Right, because I wanted to tell the background of why.
Yeah.
Asymptomatic, because that's quite important, because people don't understand that change usually from the CDC, and that change that happened last week changed everybody's world, which is good for us for the clinic, because it's more people that we can get tested and get on back to work. But what I wanted to propose is that for the asymptomatic side, we were planning on using the new area that we have not inhabited yet at the clinic. It's sitting empty. And so we would put the new people, the asymptomatic people there because that's a quick test. Just the rapid only. I can use nurses, medical assistants only for that. Our side that we currently use would continue to be the symptomatic side because those people we want to get to a provider. We want them to decide whether or not they need the test and also treat the whole person. They may need strep, they may have strep and also need to get treated for that, those kind of things. And so really our leftover questions are who? What about those non-members that we've been getting calls about saying, hey, we want to come to the clinic too. Do we want to allow that? Do we want that to be like, currently we would do a payroll deduction. Do we want to go there? Do we want to say there's a deduction or is it free? All of those things are things that you all would need to decide when it comes to those symptomatic people that want to be seen by a provider. Because what I was thinking and what we wanted to propose, the asymptomatic is so fast and it's an in and out, it's a rapid only, might not be good to say that that costs anything. So that's just what you all would need to decide.
And Charlotte, how many tests do we currently have?
I ordered and have received, let me think a second. We have 6,600 rapid and we have 400 of one PCR, 600 of the next PCR. Okay. And those are the ones that they send off. So I ordered extra after I found out about the CDC return to work deal because I knew we would need a lot to accommodate that.
So does, and I know, you know, one of the big concerns is we cannot become a testing center. We don't have the staff to do that. We need to continue our focus on our on-site clinic, but also wanting to provide that service to our employees who have our insurance. And then I think you as the trust members, the question is, do we want to open this up to non-members? And if we do we want to charge a fee? And as Charlotte said, it's in and out, but it's still a service that the insurance trust is still paying those nurses to provide that service. And Charlotte, could you remind us how much, so if I don't have insurance and I go right now, what is the fee?
If you don't have insurance and you just receive a nurse's test on that test, $20.
How much?
$20.
Okay.
And plus the cost of materials. So if it is a specific test, you pay for that test.
If that's a payroll deduction.
If it's the symptomatic area, it's $40 plus the cost of the associated tests.
So I think that's the first question. How do the members feel about doing the COVID rapid asymptomatic for employees that do not have the insurance but have been out of work because they're being quarantined? Again, that's the only time we would do an asymptomatic is someone who's out on FFCRA or another appropriate COVID related leave. So that's the question to the members that we need to decide. Do we want to open it up to non-members for the rapid test?
Janine, this is John. I do think it's feasible to open it up to employees that are not members. But I do have a clarification on the cost. I know it's a $20 copay, but the audio was a little wonky. But what was the $40 copay part?
The $40 is for the person that is seeing a provider and they're having like an actual real visit with a person that's diagnosed in that.
Okay.
So it's always the cost of the, like we always have the payroll deduction, but if you get something else, lab work or whatever, we give detailed cost of each thing that they request that's extra.
So I know that doesn't require a provider to administer the rapid test, but I mean, shouldn't there be some type of assessment to say, yes, you should get the rapid test?
For the asymptomatic person, no.
Symptomatics.
We're symptomatic. That's what we think. Now, you don't have to. We're just choosing to do it that way. We could have a standing order and become like the mill other places have, but we're choosing not to because we think our patients deserve better than that. And we want to treat the whole patient.
Okay. Well, in short, I would be in favor of collecting the copay that we would typically collect when someone came to either see a provider or the $20 copay if they just came in for the testing.
So I'm hearing a motion to allow non-members that are our employees. I'm going to be real clear about that. They're our employees. So that would be school system employees, county government employees, highway, the whole group that's under the county government. If they are non-members, they can be seen if it's an asymptomatic test because they're coming back because of the lessening the quarantine days, then it would be a $20. If they are symptomatic, it would be the $20 plus the $40. Am I correct, Charlotte? So a total of 60 or a total of 40?
40.
40, okay. A
That
total of
seems
40.
reasonable.
Second that.
Okay. Any other questions on this? And again, we're talking about employees only at this time. We're not talking about dependent children.
Just to get people back to work, right?
For the
And
asymptomatic or
the asymptomatic, yes. Now symptomatic, that's a whole nother story. Tommy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I mean, I agree with the motions. There is a little bit of discussion about the employee that comes in to return to work that's asymptomatic, but they're also a household, so they bring their children too to be tested. But I think we can either do that next or not, but I do like the motions that are on the table.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying that, there are other testing centers available for other household members. And in our interest, it's to get that employee back into the workplace without creating a hazard for other employees.
So,
Yeah, but what the employees we've already ran into it, or Charlotte has, is they come in and they test negative to go back to work, but they have to stay home because their kids are still on that. So if we could test them also, then it would clear all of them. But anyway, I like the motions.
Okay, that's a good
And
point.
I wanted to add something as well. We're running into a lot of that, but also because of seasonal allergies, that may be the only thing they have is a runny nose. And if they could get a rapid test and back to work, then, I mean, I really think that doesn't necessarily require a full-fledged doctor's appointment or, nurse practitioner appointment. And I say that, and Charlotte can vouch for this. I did that last week because I did have the congestion and I'd had positives in my office that have had congestion and that was their only symptom. So I went, even though I get seasonal allergies, I thought I'm making everybody else get tested if they have that symptom. So I went, and because I had to do the full-fledged nurse's appointment, it took me almost an hour. So I said to Charlotte, if that's the only symptom, can we not do a rapid that's faster, get people back to work, and it doesn't tie up your staff as long? So that was my concern. And that may not be the direction the trust wants to go, and maybe, Charlotte, is there an opportunity to get more tests at a later date?
well, and I want to definitely say something. We just started this process.
Sure.
It should never take us an hour to see people at our clinic. And I think anybody that's seen us in the past few years since I've taken over, that's not normal. So this is totally pilot. And I'm very firm on the staff with, we don't normally do that. But I will say, if we are talking about total care, let's say you're getting a flu or strep test. Those take 15 minutes to cook, sometimes each. Then you've got to wait on your rapid test, 15 minutes to cook. And if you need a PCR, we need to explain how they send that off. So there is more to it. We're willing to do that, but it will take a little bit of time, more than normal. You're not in and out in 10 minutes. But we do feel like that is giving you excellent care. So that's just know that stance. Even the providers, they feel like that's the best for our employees. Better than an in and out, you just test and you don't have any service. So that's used for us.
And I understand definitely it's new, and that wasn't a complaint at all. I was trying to just say, even if it's 45 minutes, if we're truly just have that mild symptom, is there a way that they can get a rapid test without, because obviously if there's no fever, there's none of the other symptoms for flu or anything else, you still want to give a full-fledged nursing appointment?
We signed off with the state stating that we would. So This is different because they provided these things for free. So in their guidelines, we have to follow X, Y, and Z, where someone else may not have to, but we have to because it was provided by St. Timothy. So we're sort of stuck, and I signed off that we would do it that way. But now for the asymptomatic person that is a quick rapid test, that is in. They sit for that rapid test so that way they can get back to work in a quick fashion. But those people don't have any symptoms. That's the difference.
Okay, yeah, I didn't understand there was a contractual obligation there, so that makes definitely more sense.
Does anybody have any other questions for Charla? And Charla, how many of you conducted so far or performed?
We've done, I think, about 35. I was looking at.
And I'm curious, of the 35, do you know how many were positive?
Well, I was trying to count that up today. I want to say 20 plus have been positive.
Okay.
So we've had a
And
lot.
then those that had symptoms that came up negative, then they did the PCR.
Yes, unless the provider felt like it was something else. So maybe,
Okay.
maybe it was allergies or maybe it was stress. But yeah, they have to sign off if they don't do the PCR. So that's going to be some education for patients as well.
Okay. All right. So we do have a motion, a first and a second. And so I'm just going to summarize this again. What we are saying is that we will allow non-members to, non-member employees at this time to use the on-site clinic for the COVID testing. There will be a charge of $20 for asymptomatic, $40 for symptomatic because of the nurse's visit. Do I have that correct? Saying yes. Okay. So we'll go ahead, and if I have no other questions, we'll go ahead and vote on that. Okay, Marcia?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Tommy?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, okay. Mary?
Yes.
And Alyssa?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can move on. And I will just take one other item and then we will need to schedule another meeting because we do have several, we have an appeal here, but I don't want to rush through that appeal. And I know that's what I would have to do. And I want to give that employee that's put in this appeal, they need to have I want to make sure we can all discuss it to the fullest extent. Let's see. Tommy, was there something else on the COVID? Now, I know, Charla, you're going to work on a communication plan. We'll share that with the county, what we're sending out to our employees. And then Tommy, did you have anything that you wanted to add in regards to family members and COVID testing?
I just think that, I don't think it requires further action, but I think that when it comes to returning an employee to work, if it's dependent on also their trust member dependent to be tested, I think that Charlotte can be flexible and they can do that.
Okay. So do you, because I know we did say employees only in the motion. So are you saying that if the family member is a trust member, that the on-site would have the flexibility to go ahead and administer the rapid so that the employee could return back to work because their child could go back to school? Is that what you're?
Exactly. Yeah. And Charlotte can say it better than me, but the family that's a close contact or household contact, no symptoms, that if the employee could return, but it's contingent upon their student being able to return, that we would go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I will say it was awkward this week to tell a parent yes and then the child no. That was extremely awkward.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Any concerns? Okay, so Charlotte, in that communication, you'll clarify how we would handle that for a family member? So basically, if I'm perfectly healthy and I'm fine, but I want to have my child tested, that's not going to happen. Okay, make sure we understand that. All right, well, this is really exciting work. And I really want to thank Charla and Tommy for all of the research and the work that they've done. A lot of people were questioning why we would take these rapids, and it's really turned out to be a good thing for us and how we're going to be able to use these. So it's exciting, and huge thanks to your staff, Charla, for being willing to do this. I don't think it's something that a lot of people quickly want to do is give Rapids to people that have symptoms for COVID. So huge thanks to all of them if you'll pass that on. Any other questions? If not, I'm gonna move to one other item before we go ahead and kind of summarize. I did ask the Fessendens to check with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I was curious to see how much COVID testing had cost the insurance trust thus far. And Chris, you were able to pull that data together. Did you have that? Or Kim, did you have that? I'm sorry. Or do you want me to share? I'm not sure if I have it. Kim, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Document that Donna provided, and it basically just says payment summary for COVID-19. And as you all can see, for the plan, for this calendar year, there's been $202,000 worth of expenses for various testing. That's about 2,000 members. So the average cost for COVID test is $100. I don't know if you all, I guess you all have got those exhibits if you want to take a peek at it, but so various diagnosis codes for various settings for the test.
And Chris, and I'm sorry, I was trying to get an attachment. What did you say the overall cost so far to the trust has been for COVID testing?
$202,000 for the
Okay.
calendar year.
So
Go ahead. Chris, I do want to add to that too, in thinking about that, what we hear from a lot of our employees that get Rapids is that they're charging Blue Cross plus the out-of-pockets that the employees, so it might be 100 plus 200. We've heard 300, I mean, all different things. So the true cost by getting them at no cost at the clinic is really a lot.
Okay, thank you for that data. I'm gonna go ahead and move us on. We do have an appeal, so you should have all received that information from Donna. We will plan on putting that on the agenda for our next meeting. That will be one of the first things that we will go over. So if you do have a time to please read through that. And then the next thing I do want to do is look at scheduling our next meeting. At that next meeting, we will start to look at possible premiums for September 1 of 2021. We should start to be able to look at that data. I believe you, Chris, you guys probably already have the underwriters working on that.
That's right. The November claims data is probably available today or tomorrow. We've got the actuarial notice. We will prepare the projections. So at our next meeting, we'll certainly have those details.
Okay. What about a mid-January meeting? Do you think that would be good for the group, that we would be able to have a little bit more claims data, and then that would help Marcia and Jeff as they start to prepare their budget? What about January 19th? It's a Tuesday. Does that work for everyone? And we'll shoot to have it in person. We'll see how things are going, but we'll shoot for in person. And if that doesn't work well, we'll go back to our Zoom. So that'll be January 19th at 4:15. So again, if you could make sure that you review the appeal information. And then at that time, we'll ask for Charlotte to provide us with a summary on how things have been going at onsite with Rapids. That will be important. The school system has no intention of doing any kind of mandatory testing for our employees. First off, we couldn't handle the logistics, nor do we want to overrun the onsite clinic. So just as an awareness, there's no mandatory testing for employees. Okay.
Janine, I did want to ask one question on the appeal. It looks like there's a surgery scheduled for December 23rd. Do we have any obligation to hear that appeal within a certain period of time?
No, that surgery has already been approved. So I think the person is wanting to have a different set of surgeries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure I saw that date, and I just wanted to make sure we weren't under any obligation.
I think there was maybe 3 surgeries, and one of them has been approved and the other 2 have not been.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions, and I apologize for having to rush off, but do have, and actually the HR department's doing a big board report tonight, so I've got to get over there and get ready for that. So no questions. And Alyssa, thank you for joining the group. We're glad.
Thanks everybody for your patience with all my questions.
Oh, of course. And
No.
as Chris said, feel free to reach out to him. Feel free to reach
Will
out to
be.
myself. If you have any questions, we're here to help you out.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, everyone have a great evening. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to everyone later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.